Hello and welcome to your practice. My name is Keegan, the Balanced Nomad, and today I'll be guiding you through this slow flow practice. This is a super nice one if you want to find some mindful movement without the usual intensity of a Vinyasa class. We'll be in each pose for around 2 to 5 breaths, so holding it longer than we do in a typical Vinyasa. No props are required, and this is also beginner friendly. We're going to start in a seated position, whatever that looks like for you, whether that's cross-legged, maybe you're up on a block, or just finding anywhere that feels best. We're going to shut down the eyes, just centering for a few breaths before we start taking our movement today. Finding some deep breaths, observing our inhales and exhales. Whether you're doing this practice in the morning, afternoon, or closer to the end of the day, just leaving our priorities of daily life off the mat. You just need to be here and now. And you can blink open the eyes, just starting to find some movement, moving through some neck circles. We're just gonna bring right ear over to the right shoulder and bringing the head behind the shoulders and moving forward. Moving at whatever pace feels best for you. Can sync breath with movement. Maybe inhaling head behind and exhaling the head forward. And moving in the opposite direction. And we can come back up to center. Just taking some rolls with the shoulders, moving them backwards. And just moving in the opposite direction, bringing shoulders forward. And coming back to neutral, interlocking the hands, just bringing them overhead, finding some side bends here, moving over to the right, making sure chest is staying lifted. You can keep gaze ahead of you or maybe slightly up to the sky. And just finding this side bend on the opposite side. And coming back to center, just letting go with the hands, just finding a few twists from here, inhaling arms up, bringing left hand to the top of the right knee, looking over the right shoulder, inhaling arms up, twisting over to the left. Just repeating one more round on each side. Coming back to center, and we can move to tabletop from here. So just finding hands underneath shoulders and knees underneath hips. Moving through a few rounds of cat and cows, inhaling, dropping chest, bringing gaze up to the sky, arching through the back. Exhaling, rounding out through the spine, bringing chin to chest. Inhaling takes you to cow. And exhaling through to cat. Just moving through a few more rounds. And we can meet with a neutral spine. Finding thread the needle from here. Inhaling the right arm up straight. Threading it through the left arm, pressing our right shoulder blade to the mat. We can keep hand pressed beside our face or reach overhead. And I encourage you to close down the eyes when it's safe to do so throughout this practice. So in any grounded pose, just so you can really come here and now and focus on the internal world. And if hand was overhead, just bringing it back beside the face, reaching that right arm up. Maybe you can go a little bit higher. Finding thread the needle on the opposite side, inhaling left arm up straight, threading it underneath the right, pressing the left shoulder blade into the mat. Hand stays pressed beside the face or reaching above you. Maybe shutting down the eyes if that feels good. And just really focusing on the breath. Bringing the breath to any areas that feel sensation. Maybe the shoulders or the upper back here. And if arm was ahead of you, just bring it back beside your face. Once again, stretching through that left arm. Meeting in tabletop. We're just gonna press ourselves right up to downward dog here. Tucking toes and bringing tailbone up to the sky. If this is your first downward dog of class, heels may or may not be on the ground, no problem either way. Back of the legs may be super tight, just paddle out the legs here. Just staying in our first downward dog for 5 breaths. Just taking a mental note of how we're feeling in our first downward dog, how we're feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. And coming into 3-legged dog from here, inhaling that right leg up straight. You can bend into the knee, aligning the right hip over the left. And moving to low lunge from here, bringing right knee in towards the chest and placing it in between the hands, dropping that back knee. And just like we did in those side bends, interlocking the hands and we can bring them above us. Gaze can come forward or maybe up slightly, creating an arch in the back. We're gonna find a twist from here, just bringing hands to prayer, turning over to the right side, bringing that left elbow to the top of the right knee, and gaze goes over our right shoulder here. And slowly just releasing forward, moving to our half splits from here, maybe walking that right heel a bit forwards and straightening through the right leg, flexing into that foot, trying to keep a relatively straight back here. Can be up on palms or fingertips. Maybe if you have blocks at home, you can be up on blocks. And totally fine to keep a micro bend in that front right knee if that feels good. And from here, moving back to downward dog, maybe just bending into the front knee to transition, and we can step ourselves into downward dog. Taking 2 breaths to settle. In lifting up that left leg into 3-legged dog, we can bend into the left knee, trying to get the left hip above the right. Moving to low lunge, bringing that left knee in towards the chest and placing it in between the hands, dropping that back knee. Once again, interlocking hands and bringing them above us. Gaze is either forward or maybe slightly up, finding a little bit of a back bend here. And we can bring hands to prayer, moving through a twist here, bringing the right elbow to the top of the left knee and bringing gaze over the left shoulder. And releasing, just bringing hands in front of us, moving back into that half split, maybe walking the front toes up slightly just so we can straighten fully into the left leg, flexing into the foot, trying to keep a straight back here. It can be on palms or fingertips, whatever is most suitable. Totally fine to keep a micro bend in that left leg if that feels best for you. And coming back to downward dog, maybe just bending into that left leg to transition and stepping back to downward dog. Once again, just finding our breath here, reconnecting, maybe shutting down the eyes helps us look internally. And straightening through that right leg, pulling it into the chest and bringing it to the outside of the right hand, coming into lizard pose from here. Optional to stay up on the palms here or coming down to the elbows if that feels good for you and you have the depth, go for it. If not, just up here on the palms. Breathing into the front of that left hip flexor. And from here, bending into that left knee, creating a kind of kickstand behind us, coming into a side lunge here. So just realigning ourselves, trying to bring the right knee over the right ankle. You can bring the back of your hand to your knee and just bend slightly here. Maybe straightening up into that left arm if that feels okay. And once again, if you're feeling stable, maybe shutting down the eyes. And releasing here, we're just gonna cartwheel hands forward and move back to our downward facing dog. Straightening into that left leg and bringing it to the outside of the left hand, coming into lizard pose on the opposite side. Once again, choosing your option with the hands, maybe staying up on the palms, or if you have the depth, coming to the elbows, but really just taking what option feels best for you. And once again, we're gonna find that little side lunge. So bending into the right leg this time, bringing it behind you like a little kickstand, coming up with the upper body, just realigning the leg here, making sure that the knee is above the ankle. Pressing the back of the hand into the knee and maybe straightening through the right hand and bending slightly here. Maybe you can shut down the eyes for a few breaths. And just cartwheeling ourselves forward here, stepping back into downward dog. And this is our last downward dog of class. We're gonna stay here for 3 breaths. You can choose stillness, or maybe you still enjoy paddling out the legs here. Just observing that even in this short time, have you gone through any physical, mental, or emotional changes? It doesn't have to be any drastic change. Maybe your heels are closer to the mat, you're feeling more calm. Just observing any shifts. And we're just gonna walk ourselves to the back of the mat with the hands. Taking ragdoll from here, you can walk the feet out slightly further than hip distance, grabbing a hold of opposite elbows and dropping the head. Might feel good to keep a generous bend in the knees, so just play around with straightening and bending the legs, just seeing where you want to be today. And dropping palms, heels in, toes out, just coming to Malasana to transition to our seated poses. And bringing glutes to the mat. And walking ourselves forward if you're a bit far on your mat. Moving into Paschimottanasana, our seated forward fold. So straightening through the legs, maybe moving any extra flesh out of the way just so your sit bones are nice and grounded into the mat. Inhaling the arms up and exhaling, we're gonna fold. We're really emphasizing this fold coming from the hinge here. We're not just flopping over with the upper body, but really seeing how deep we can go when we bend from the hips. And once we've hit a point of resistance, just dropping the hands. And you can drop the head as well if that feels good for your neck. You can grab onto your shins, ankles, big toes, bottom of the feet. Anywhere that feels best for you. If you are more flexible and want a bit more intensity and do have a block at home, you can always place it behind your feet and grab a hold of the block. So really just play around here. And observing on your exhales, can you move deeper into the pose? And we're going to slowly release out of this posture. You can just walk yourself up with the fingertips. And from here, we're going to plant that right foot into the mat, parallel to the left thigh, and find Maricha Asana A. Inhaling that right arm up straight, finding a forward fold, bending into that right arm, and grabbing a hold of the hands. Just gonna move at a slight angle just so you can see what my hands look like. If you aren't able to clasp hands, you're always welcome to maybe just grab part of your t-shirt, just grab really whatever is available, just trying to hold on. If you have a strap as well, that can be super beneficial to help you find this posture. But you don't need to have the bind here, so really just grab whatever is available. Especially if a bind is uncomfortable, definitely skip it. You can always just stay in your seated forward fold if this just isn't a comfortable pose for you. And you can release the hold of the hands if they were binded and inhale both the arms up, just finding a twist here, bringing left elbow to the top of the right knee, just bringing gaze behind the right shoulder. And you can release here. Just gonna find these two poses on the opposite side. So planting that left foot into the mat, inhaling left arm up, bending ourselves, folding that arm behind and trying to catch a hold of the hands. If not, maybe grabbing onto your t-shirt or using a strap to find this posture. And we can release here. Inhale both arms up, finding a twist, bringing that right elbow to the top of the knee and bringing gaze behind you. And we can release here, just moving onto our backs. I'm gonna move into waterfall pose from here. Feel free to join me, or you can also take shoulder stand if that's within your practice. If you're in waterfall with me, just straightening legs, flexing into the feet. And of course, feel free to shut down the eyes here. This is a super restorative pose. Just bringing all of the blood flow back into the organs. And we can release out of this posture. Coming to happy baby from here, just grabbing onto the big toes or the outside of the feet, just making sure whatever option you take, you can feel the tailbone pressed firmly into the mat. And you can find stillness or a bit of a rock here. And you can release out of happy baby. We're just going to move to Shavasana, our final rest, taking up lots of space, shutting down the eyes. And I'll call you back when it's time to reawaken. And bringing some movement back into the body. And when you're ready, just coming up to seated. And just closing from here, bringing hands to the forehead and bowing forward. Namaste. If you enjoyed this practice, be sure to subscribe and leave me a comment, and I would love to practice with you again. I hope to see you in another video. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you.